When, how, and why did you leave Provo Canyon School?
Uh, I wasn't scheduled to leave at all when I left. What happened was I was placed in pretty much a long-term medical care because of Provo Canyon. I had been sick since July of 2006, constantly going up to the nurse's station, constantly, all they could tell you is drink more water. That was their solution to every medical thing, was drink more water. It got to a point where I was just like, fuck it, I'm not even going to go up to the nurse's station anymore. So a few months go by, and one day I'm down in school in my favorite class. So it had to be bad. It was my favorite class, art class with Miss Cheryl Lindsay. Great teacher. Um, and I start getting like really hot flashes. I've been having like hot cold flashes for a few days. Finally, I'm like, I need to go see the nurse. So I go upstairs and they take my temperature. It was 103 or 102. They put me on sick bed right away. I stayed there for 3 days, I believe. And one day my temperature rose to 104 and was consistent for 12 hours. They made me drink Gatorade, which I despise now. It is just the nastiest thing on the planet. It made me take cold shower after cold shower after cold shower until they were like, okay, we're going to take her to the doctor. Obviously, her temperature hasn't lowered in the last 12 hours. When I got to the doctor, I had to wait for like 2 hours to finally get in. And when they did, they put me on some oxygen, I believe. I don't remember all that happened at first. I was kind of, out of it. And then they took some x-rays. Excuse me, sorry. They took some x-rays and, got it a cold. They took some x-rays and said that I had pneumonia. So they gave me the Z-Pack. And before all this, they gave me cough syrup medicine because with the highest dose of codeine in it. But I kept coughing and coughing and coughing, so they thought, okay. And then my temperature rose, then they took me to the hospital. They gave me the Z-Pack, and they specifically told me, if anything gets worse, you need to come back immediately. The next day, which was a Thursday, I felt great. I was flying on high air. I wanted to go back to school, and I think a part of that was, in me, I knew that I wouldn't have a chance to say goodbye to anybody. I think there was something that knew something was seriously wrong with me. But I felt great that whole day. Went to bed feeling fine. Friday came around. I woke up with my chest compressing. I felt like I was suffocating. I felt like I was literally about to die. I told them multiple times, in the morning shift, I told them I need to go back to the hospital, and they thought I was faking it, so they didn't take me back. Night shift, I told them I need to go back to the hospital. My mom, knowing that I was sick, called me at 8 o'clock at night, Utah time. I was like, yes, finally get a call. I told her that I really thought I was dying. My chest felt like it was squeezing together. She got on my stepdad's phone while on the phone with me and called my doctor in Ketchikan, and he said that I needed to get to the hospital right away. And she said, you need to tell the staff. I said, I did tell the staff. They think I'm faking. Um, so she hung up with me, saying that she'd call the staff herself. My mom is a very go-getter person, but it took her 15 whole minutes, finally with the threat of an attorney if they did not get me medical attention. And so I was rushed to the hospital. Since I'd already been in that week, it didn't take long for me to get in there. And they took my oxygen levels. I had no idea what oxygen levels were before this, but they did, and they were 70. They're supposed to be above 90. They put me on oxygen right away, and they decided to take more x-rays since I'd already been in. After the x-rays were done, they were waiting for them to be developed. They took me off the oxygen, thinking maybe I had stabilized. Then they took my oxygen levels a couple minutes later, and they had dropped to 60. They knew something was seriously wrong. Then they got back the x-rays, and they said it looked like I had pleural effusions, which is pretty much the same thing as pneumonia from what I gather, except on the side of your rib cage. And they did not feel comfortable taking me into that hospital. They were going to admit me to that hospital in Provo. But they said, no, we don't feel it's safe keeping you here. We're going to take you all the way to Salt Lake City to primary children's. I was put in an ambulance on oxygen. My staff was told to stay with me. She argued and argued and argued, saying she had to stay with me, but this, thank goodness, the hospital staff said no. The staff was with me 24/7 my whole stay in the hospital until they discharged me because I might have a chance of run risk. On my dying bed, I was going to run away with my oxygen. Like that. How am I going to run away with my oxygen? Yep. See you guys later. I'm leaving now. Like, seriously. I was in the bathroom. I was sleeping. There was always a staff near me. I got to Salt Lake City. I waited 5 hours for a room to finally open up because they took me there immediately, even without a room, knowing that one room would be opened. They put me on the second floor. I was there for maybe a day and a half, and then the hospital got an unanimous phone call from one of the people at Provo Canyon saying 2 people had been entered to Provo Canyon with their TB test done that came back positive. 2 people in Provo Canyon School had tuberculosis. They rushed me upstairs to an isolation on the 3rd floor, gave me a tuberculosis test. I didn't make it to the 48 hours before I was entered into the ICU. My parents were called. It took them a couple days. All I remember from right there is my mom walking in, and my brother and my stepdad. And I remember, like, the look on my brother's face. I had an oxygen mask over my nose that was pumping, like, a really fast air into my lungs because my lungs could not keep open on their own. My mom had brought some things that she bought for me from my favorite store. And my brother had won something at the little jaw thing. And, yeah, I remember, the last thing I remember being awake is my mom painting my nails green from Hot Topic, green nail polish. From what I've been told, the next 2 weeks was hell for my family. I was put under a man-made sedation, chest tubes in either side, on life support for 2 whole weeks. I was not supposed to make it. I had like a 1% chance of living at that point. And apparently redheads are like the hardest to sedate, so they had to keep putting me under and under because I kept trying to pull out all my chest tubes. I've seen the pictures from when I was under, and I look like death. Like, there's really no other way. I look like not me, you know. My brother was there almost the whole time. My grandma came in from Florida. And then one day, in the middle of the night, my mom got a phone call. And the lady wouldn't tell her what happened. All she said was, you need to get down here immediately. My mom and my grandma are throwing things on. They're like, Craig, which is my brother, get my clothes, you know, and everybody's freaking out. My stepdad's there, my brother's there, which those 2 stayed at the hotel. And apparently my mom went running down the ICU, which is full of sick people waiting to die, you know, screaming her head off. I had died for over 2 minutes. I was about to be legally pronounced dead, but by the time she got there, they had already given me the shot of estrogen, and I was alive again. I flatlined multiple times while under. And then I don't know how I woke up. All I know is one day they stabilized me enough to take me out of the sedation. And apparently my respiratory therapist was so, like, at awe that he started crying and hugging me, and I was just like, it's okay. I was on Ativan like none other. I don't even remember waking up on the ICU. I remember waking up on the 3rd floor